I mean, I want you to picture a very specific, quiet moment. You are standing at your front door, right? You've got the leash in your hand.
The daily routine.
Exactly. The air outside is maybe a little crisp, and your dog pulls toward the sidewalk, eager to get going, just the way they always have.
Yeah.
And your shoulder absorbs that familiar jerk, the way it always does. But in this specific moment, there is a half-second hesitation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's just a tiny recalibration in your body. It's almost imperceptible, but you notice it, something that just wasn't there before.
It is, it's a profound realization, honestly. And it happens in just a fraction of a second. You realize in that tiny hesitation that, the dog didn't change.
Right. Okay, let's unpack this, because we have a fascinating stack of source material today looking at this exact dynamic.
We really do.
It's this unique, constantly shifting relationship between older adults and their dogs. And I want to be clear with you listening, because my initial thought when I saw these sources was like, oh no, is this going to be a depressing lecture about losing independence?
I know. I had the exact same hesitation. But we really need to set the tone immediately here.
Yeah.
When society talks out aging and pet ownership, the narrative almost always defaults to this tragic trope about giving up a beloved companion.
Right, the heartbreaking separation.
Exactly. And that is decidedly not what we are exploring today. The source material is an empathetic, brutally honest look at how human bodies subtly change over time and, more importantly, how we can intelligently adapt to sustain what is arguably one of the most precious bonds in a person's life.
It's basically a blueprint for adaptation, right? Not a white flag of surrender. And one of the sources frames this bond with a phrase that I cannot get out of my head. It refers to the dog as the architecture of the day.
Yeah, such a powerful phrase.
It really is. When I read that, I immediately pictured like the invisible scaffolding of a building. You don't necessarily stand on the sidewalk and admire the scaffolding, right?
No, usually you ignore it completely.
Right, but it is the raw structure that holds absolutely everything else up. A dog provides that same invisible framework for a human's day. When your internal motivation might completely sag, maybe you're tired, maybe you're feeling a bit, that scaffolding is holding the hours together.
The scaffolding analogy is so spot on. I mean, think about the mechanics of human motivation.
Okay.
As we age, especially post-retirement, the external structures of our days, the commute, the office hours, the school run.
Well, right, they all just kind of vanish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What a dog provides is this unprescribable mix of routine and purpose. The medical community has, countless interventions for older adults, but no physician can write a prescription that replicates the biological drive to care for another living thing.
Wow.
The dog is the undeniable reason you actually get out of bed at 7 in the morning.
Because they don't care if it's Sunday. And they definitely don't care if it's raining.
Precisely. They are the reason you put on a coat and step outside. When the weather is just gray, the wind is blowing, and your personal motivation to go for a walk is essentially zero.
Right.
That scaffolding keeps physical activity going when other, more formal types of exercise have just quietly fallen off the calendar.
Like you might have stopped going to that morning yoga class, or maybe the stationary bike in the spare bedroom has become a very expensive coat rack.
We've all been there.
We really have. But you are still walking the dog. And the sources point out that it's not just the physical movement, right? There is a massive social component here.
Oh, absolutely.
A dog is just a wildly effective social lubricant, especially for older adults who might live alone.
And the best part is, the social dividends require absolutely zero planning. You aren't, coordinating a coffee date or forcing yourself to join a club.
No, you just walk outside, a neighbor smiles at you, someone stops on the sidewalk to ask what breed your dog is.
Yeah, or another dog owner gives you that knowing nod as you cross paths while, trying to manage the leashes.
Exactly. And the text points out that these moments are incredibly brief. But for someone living alone, brief does not mean insignificant. Those tiny human exchanges are the tethers that anchor you to the broader community.
What's fascinating here is how a dog also keeps the sensory systems engaged in ways we rarely measure.
Ooh, tell me more about that.
Well, as we age, there is a natural tendency for life to sometimes contract around the edges. Our world can physically shrink to fewer rooms and socially shrink to fewer contacts.
Like your bubble just gets smaller.
Exactly. But a dog completely interrupts that contraction. There is always something demanding your senses. The dog wants breakfast, and you have to physically rise and navigate the kitchen.
Right.
The dog moves through the hallway, and your ocular system has to literally track them. The dog sits by the door, and you have to put down the book you were reading, physically shifting your auditory and visual attention.
Wow.
The dog is continually pulling the center of your life outward.
I love that. It is such a beautiful image, that outward pull, keeping you fiercely engaged with the world. But that outward pull is also the tension point in our deep dive today.
Is the crux of the issue, yes.
Because if dogs bring all this incredible life, energy, and physical movement into a home, what happens when that exact same boundless canine energy meets a human body that is subtly, quietly changing?
Yeah, that paradox is the core conflict our source text zeroes in on.
Right.
The very qualities that make a dog so valuable to an older adult, their energy, their responsiveness, their spontaneous physical presence.
Are the exact same things that make them tricky.
Yes, they're the exact same qualities that create underappreciated physical risks. We harbor this massive misconception about how older adults actually get hurt.
Okay.
We picture these dramatic events, falling off a ladder, slipping on an icy staircase. But the data paints a very different picture. Most falls for older adults happen during incredibly ordinary moments.
Okay, let's put a pin in that. What defines an ordinary moment in this context? Like, what are we talking about here?
We're talking about turning around in a hallway to see what the dog is chewing on, stepping off a standard, 2-inch street curb, reaching for a drop leash just below waist level.
Just everyday stuff.
Exactly. Getting up from a living room chair because the dog barked at the window. A dog introduces dozens of these ordinary physical moments into a single day, and many of them require sudden, uncalculated movements.
Let's zoom in on the biomechanics of that unpredictability for a second. I want to look at the physics of the walk itself.
Okay, let's do it.
Because when a dog suddenly lunges, maybe they see a squirrel or another dog across the street, that pull on the leash doesn't just stay isolated in your hand.
Not at all.
The text breaks this down so clearly that kinetic force travels instantly. It hits the hand, shoots through the wrist, up the elbow, into the shoulder socket, and then it travels right down into the trunk of your body.
Yep, completely shifting your center of mass forward.
Now, I have to push back just a little bit here. I'm listening to this and I'm looking at my goofy, tail-wagging golden retriever. Is my dog suddenly a menace? Like, has the dog become the bad guy in this scenario?
Not at all. And the source text is very careful to make that distinction. The dog hasn't grown suddenly stronger, and the dog is certainly not maliciously trying to pull you over.
Right, they're just being a dog.
Exactly. The variable in this physics equation that has changed is the human's reaction time. It is slowed down.
Okay.
And the really tricky part is that neurological slowing is so incredibly gradual, we're talking milliseconds a year, that most people cannot even identify when it began.
It's almost like watching a video online where the audio is just slightly out of sync. You can see the person's mouth moving, but the sound hits your ears a split second later. You know something is off, but it's really hard to articulate.
That is a phenomenal way to visualize it. I mean, your visual cortex sees the dog lunge for the squirrel.
Yeah.
Your brain registers the event and sends the signal down your spinal cord to your legs and core, saying, brace for impact, shift your weight back. But because of the natural aging of our nervous system, that signal takes just a fraction of a second longer to arrive at the muscle. By the time your calves and core actually fire to counter the pull, your center of mass has already been dragged way too far forward.
So the muscle isn't necessarily too weak to hold the dog. The memo just got lost in the mail for a millisecond, and by the time it arrives, the physics are already working against you.
Exactly the case. And this introduces the concept of the narrowed margin.
Narrowed margin, what does that mean?
Well, for a younger person, that slight delay doesn't exist.
Right.
So the sudden pull from the golden retriever registers as just a minor annoyance. Their body automatically compensates, drops its center of gravity, and they barely think about it.
Right.
For someone with that microscopic delay in reaction time, the exact same pull with the exact same amount of force bypasses their ability to quickly correct.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the annoyance becomes a genuine, dangerous balance challenge. The margin of safety between stumbling and falling has simply narrowed.
And that narrowed margin isn't just an outdoor problem on an icy sidewalk. The text brings the focus inside the home, where the risks are a lot quieter, but honestly, equally real. We tend to think of our living rooms as perfectly safe, controlled environments, but dogs aren't static furniture.
No, they're essentially loving, highly unpredictable space occupiers.
I love that phrase. They follow you into the kitchen while you're cooking and stand right behind your heels. They walk across the dimly lit hallway as you're carrying a laundry basket that blocks your view of your feet.
Constantly.
They lie down right next to the legs of your favorite chair, just blending right into the rug. And the text notes that they aren't trying to trip you, but they move through space in a way you can never fully predict. And managing that unpredictability, like trying to awkwardly step over a tail or stopping short when they cross your path, it demands those incredibly fast physical corrections, which, as we just established with the audio sync analogy, is exactly what becomes less automatic with age.
Yeah, and it goes even deeper than just the physical reflexes breaking down or slowing. Managing a dog taxes our brain in ways we rarely acknowledge. And this leads us directly into the hidden cognitive toll of this entire dynamic.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The text makes this incredibly eye-opening point. Walking a dog is absolutely not just walking.
Not even close. It is a highly complex, multi-system task.
I was trying to think of an equivalent to describe the cognitive load here. It's like, imagine driving a car with a manual transmission in heavy stop-and-go city traffic while simultaneously trying to read a complicated paper map spread across the steering wheel.
That sounds incredibly stressful.
Right. But to a bystander just watching you drive by, it just looks like you're sitting there moving forward. It looks effortless.
Yeah.
But inside the car, your brain is secretly working overtime just to keep the engine from stalling, monitor the pedestrians, and not rear-end a taxi.
The manual transmission analogy perfectly captures the essence of what the source text calls divided attention.
Divided attention.
Let's break down the actual neurological task the text identifies when you are just taking the dog out.
Okay, let's hear it.
You are physically monitoring the tension on the leash through proprioception. You are reading the dog's body language to see if they're about to bolt. Your visual system is scanning the ground ahead for uneven pavement or tree roots. You are checking the street for traffic. You might be holding a waste bag in one hand, which alters your arm swing and natural balance.
Wow. Yeah.
And on top of all that, you might be trying to hold a conversation with that neighbor who stopped to say hello.
It's a massive multitasking event disguised as a leisurely stroll.
Exactly. This raises an important question about how balance actually works in the human body. We tend to think of balance as a purely physical attribute, leg strength, core stability, inner ear function.
Right, like how long you can stand on one foot.
Yeah, but balance relies incredibly heavily on available cognitive bandwidth. Your brain needs processing power to synthesize spatial information and send those corrective signals to your muscles.
So, when your attention is split across 6 different micro-tasks, the leash tension, the pavement crack, the neighbor's story, the traffic.
Your brain is basically running too many heavy applications at once.
Oh, that makes total sense.
When your attention is deeply divided, your body's capacity for quick physical correction is severely reduced. The walk that looks so simple from the outside is asking far more of the older brain than it appears. The cognitive bandwidth required to simply stay upright and catch a stumble is being siphoned off by the demands of managing the dog.
I want to pause here for a second just to reflect on the emotional weight of this reality for the listener. Because if you have a dog you love, acknowledging that your body and your brain are changing in these ways is incredibly hard.
It really is.
Facing this narrowing margin of safety, admitting that the audio is a little out of sync. How do you face it without feeling like you are just giving up your role as their caretaker?
That ego hit is definitely the hardest part. The text explicitly calls out that honest self-assessment is the most difficult hurdle in this entire process.
Yep.
Admitting vulnerability feels like a betrayal of the caretaker role you've held for years.
So what does this all mean for the owner? The text points out that having to change the way you manage your dog can feel like a concession to age. It feels like a tiny surrender to say, I can't walk my own dog the way I used to.
The text forcefully, yet very gently, reframes this entire narrative. And this is the mindset shift that is so crucial for anyone listening.
Okay, lay it on me.
Adapting how you handle your dog is not evidence of your decline. It is evidence of the exact same good judgment that has served you well your entire life.
Wow.
Think about it. When you were younger, you adapted to new jobs, you adapted to new homes, you adapted your parenting style as your kids grew. This is no different. Changing your approach isn't surrender. It's an empowering, intelligent self-assessment.
Let's get into the practical side of that empowerment. The source text provides some really specific practical adaptations that prove just how manageable this shift can be. And the first one blew my mind because I see people do it all the time, assuming it's the safest option, the leash grip. Ah, yes, the instinctual wrist wrap.
Yes. Wrapping the leash tightly around your wrist feels incredibly secure. You feel like you have total control over the animal.
Right.
But the text points out the hidden biomechanical danger. If you wrap the leash, you've created a permanent tether. You've essentially turned your arm into a lever. If the dog lunges and pulls your center of gravity past your toes, you cannot physically release the leash to save yourself from falling. Your hands are tied.
Exactly.
The text suggests holding the leash loosely in the palm or using a leash with a comfortable ergonomic grip handle. You keep the control, but you retain the vital ability to let go if you absolutely have to bail out to save your balance.
And we can also look at the physics of the walk itself. The text suggests using a shorter leash.
Makes sense.
From a pure physics standpoint, a shorter leash provides more control because there is simply less runway for the dog to build up momentum.
Right, they can't get a running start. Exactly. Less momentum means less force, which means significantly less torque on your shoulder and spine if they do pull. Furthermore, the text reminds us that training a dog not to pull is possible at any age and for any breed.
Really? You can teach an old dog new tricks.
You absolutely can. If you invest the time to retrain the dog to walk with a loose leash, you fundamentally change the physics of the walk. You eliminate the sudden kinetic force entirely.
And we can take that same logic back inside the home, right? The laws of physics don't stop at the front door.
True.
If falls happen in ordinary moments because dogs are unpredictable space occupiers, you can actively control the indoor environment. The text suggests clearing your interior walkways of dog beds and scattered chew toys.
Such a simple fix.
It sounds almost too simple, but removing those static underfoot obstacles drastically reduces the visual clutter. Your brain doesn't have to process the dog bed and the dog. It gives your divided attention a break, reducing the chance of an in-home fall when you're already trying to navigate around the animal itself.
Then there is the emotional adaptation, which might be the hardest one of all. Asking for help.
Oh, yeah.
That's a tough one. The text addresses the reality of difficult days. Maybe your arthritis is flaring up, or you're just feeling fatigued, and your reaction times are even slower than normal. Asking a neighbor, a family member, or hiring a dog walker to handle the high-energy outings on those specific days is not you failing as an owner.
It's strategic delegation.
It is protecting your reserves. By offloading the highest-risk walks, you are ensuring you remain healthy enough to handle the daily gentle routines that actually matter most to you. You manage the risk so you can continue to enjoy the bond safely.
That is such a healthy way to look at it.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the profound takeaway from the source text is that none of these adjustments, the shorter leash, the palm grip, moving the dog bed, hiring a walker, none of them are really about the dog.
Right.
They are entirely about making the relationship between the two of you sustainable.
Which brings us back to you, the listener. If you have a dog lying at your feet right now, all of the beautiful things we talked about at the beginning remain absolutely true. That dog can keep you moving when the weather is terrible.
Absolutely.
That dog can make an empty, quiet house feel inhabited and alive. They can turn the chore of a daily walk into a genuine connection with your community. All of that is real. But as our source text makes clear, caring for them safely requires a constantly shifting balance of your physical strength, your reaction time, and your cognitive attention. And those human capacities shift.
They do. The dog asks the exact same things of you today that it asked of you 5 years ago. They want the walk, they want the food, they want the play.
Right.
The central question the text leaves us with is this. Does what the dog asks of you still match what you can comfortably, safely give?
That's the million-dollar question.
For most people, the answer remains yes for a very long time. But having the courage and the honesty to actually pause and ask yourself that question, to evaluate your own narrowing margins, is what truly matters.
It takes immense bravery to look at those narrowing margins. And I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over, something that really struck me as we explored the mechanics of all of this.
Great.
As our dogs age, we bend over backwards for them. When they lose their mobility, we build wooden ramps so they can still get up on the bed. We put down extra rugs on slippery hardwood floors so their hips don't give out.
We soften their food.
Exactly. We soften their food. We adapt our entire homes and our routines to care for them as their bodies change because we love them.
We do it instinctively, without a second thought.
We really do. So why is it so incredibly hard to show ourselves that exact same grace? When our own bodies change, we resist it. We view it as a failure of character, But maybe, just maybe, embracing our own narrowing margins, getting the shorter leash, clearing the hallway, asking a neighbor for help on a tired day is actually the ultimate act of love. Because by adapting ourselves, we are ensuring that we can safely hold our end of that leash for as long as humanly possible.
Sustaining the bond, that is the entire goal.
Next time you're standing at the door, leash in hand, and you feel that tiny hesitation, don't ignore it, listen to it. It's just your body reminding you to hold on smart so you can hold on longer.